What's up guys, my name's Aaron.
My name is Connor.
And today we are going to be taking an in-depth look at the InMotion V11
and the Kingsong S18.
So let's dive into it. You may have seen our last video where we went over some of the differences with the pre-production models.
Now that we've had a chance to try out the production models, we've run a series of tests and we'll be able to tell you what might work for you.
So one thing that's been fun for us having the pre-production models, now the production models, is seeing all of the great things that each company has changed.
One big change you'll notice with the V11 is going to be the improvements made to the suspension, meaning greater travel.
The goal with that is obviously going to be to improve the suspension. It'll probably be a little bit more like the S18 and hopefully reduce some of the pogo stick effect that we talked about feeling on the pre-production model.
Meanwhile, with the S18, we've seen some big improvements as well, mostly in the padding and the handle. If you remember, we had some difficulties with the handle engaging every time. The padding has been improved. It's a little bit thicker. It's probably, I think it's a little bit softer. And finally, they've changed the construction of the exoskeleton back here from aluminum to steel. So that means the chassis is a little more sturdy. It's a little heavier, however, but we didn't find that it had much of an effect.
So one big improvement with the V11, now that we're able to connect to the app, is we can enable the fan quiet mode. Typically, the fan is really loud. With the quiet mode enabled, when you slow to a stop, the fan turns off and the light dims down. Now it's almost invisible to the rider, which is a great improvement.
This new tire is a little bit thicker, and we think that's going to make some improvements with regards to its maneuverability.
So the theme of the tests we're doing today is going to be kind of like a day in the life with each of these wheels. So we're going to put them both in real world scenarios and see how each of them stacks up to each other. So to start off, we're going to go down the street, we're going to do a hill climb test.
So here we are at the hill. We're going to be doing a torque test. We're going to be starting from this green area here, accelerating as fast as we can, all the way up to the top where there's going to be another green marking on the ground.
Starting in 3, 2, 1, go! Speeding.
Go.
How'd the V11 feel?
Cool, so it felt good. I definitely hit the beeps and the tilt back coming up all 3 runs. I'm excited to see what this S18 feels like.
3, 2, 1, go! How'd it compare?
Well, I think it'd be pretty easy to say the V11 definitely had more torque coming up the hill. I think that's mostly because of the larger battery. It's able to sustain that higher voltage and higher power draw for longer. I was definitely hitting beeps and tilt back much sooner accelerating up this hill on the S18.
Looking at the results, the V11 had a slight edge as expected. However, it was surprising to see just how close the S18 was behind the V11 despite that lower top speed and our initial perception that the S18 was giving more tilt back. Overall, the hill test was a success. Speaking of hills, another test we did happened spontaneously at the spot we filmed the intro. It ended up being an important chance to test the jumping and tricking ability of each wheel, as well as showcase benefits of suspension.
If you're noticing a few more S18 clips than V11 clips in this section, you're not mistaken. While this jump was a lot of fun on the S18 thanks to the contoured padding, the same jump on the V11 felt like I was being launched. As you can see here, I barely stayed on the wheel. The V11's padding goes both ways. The saddle design is comfortable on a normal ride, but during extreme riding you won't feel locked in. On these subsequent jumps, I made sure not to preload like I could on the S18, which limited how much air I could get.
Cool, so we just arrived at some trails. We are gonna go on a little ride to test the off-roading capabilities of both the S18 and the V11.
I think the biggest difference between these two wheels is probably going to be that on this kind of scenario, the S18 is going to feel like a well-fitted shoe, and the V11s kind of feel like maybe a one size too big. I don't know how that makes sense. It made sense in my head. Kind of in the fact that the V11 doesn't lock you in. It doesn't lock you in the same way a good gym shoe would. It locks you in like a fat loafer would. It's comfortable, but it's not quite what you need in this kind of scenario at times. It's very comfortable. I think what we've been saying still applies. The V11 is still going to feel more like a Harley, while the S18 is going to feel more like a dirt bike. The S18 felt really at home here, really controllable, whereas the V11 had a few moments of uncertainty. There was a moment where there was a bump that almost kicked me off. Still controllable, still very comfortable, but not quite as maneuverable and at home like the S18 is here. We're going to be doing an accelerometer test, strapping this phone to my leg with an app running. I'll be going down this hill. So let's try it.
What is?
App is running.
All right.
Here we go. So overall, I'd say that felt pretty similar. There's this one kind of hump that comes up and kind of like acts as a mid-hill bump. I'd say I definitely felt a little more bounce out of the V11, but overall the V11 just kind of sailed down with me in a really nice way. The S18 obviously was very controllable, felt really good as well.
Venice Beach is always an interesting place to ride down because the bike trails are very packed. So it's something that you need to easily be able to kind of weave in and out of people. Maneuverability is something that always comes in handy with electric unicycles, and it's something that I tend to look for. While I did feel a little better about the S18 just because of the lower center of gravity, I was pretty happy with the V11's improvements over the pre-production wheel due to that wider tire that really made me feel more secure about the traction and dig into it a little more than I did before. Ultimately, like we've said all along, there are a lot of differences between these wheels, but they are very evenly matched. And when you're looking at comfort, maneuverability, it is almost a little bit of a trade-off between the two wheels. The V11 does feel a little bit more comfortable, but occasionally you're not going to feel as willing to make crazy maneuvers that you would in the S18. The S18, you're going to feel locked in, but after a while that position might get a little cumbersome, might feel a little more fatiguing than on the V11. Oh, there it is. Tilting back, tilting back. Oh. Okay, looks like it's back to being rideable. Nope, as I'm rolling it forward, it just starts tilting back. So close to home. Throughout the course of this video, we've ridden both wheels the exact same, and now obviously the S18 is kind of giving us some issues towards the lower end of the battery. V11 still holding strong, riding well, and only giving a little bit of tilt back and beep. So obviously there's a difference there. I'm gonna clap to intro it. Are you speeding?
Yeah.
Okay, so we just got back. We did make it back home successfully with the S18 at 0%. So just to give you the final readouts on where we were sitting at, the S18 was just under 30 miles, 29.83. The V11 somehow was a little more at 31 miles. But with that being said, both around 30 miles. The S18 is varying between 0 or 1% showing, and the V11 still has 32% left. I mean, the math even checks out perfectly, right? The V11 has a 30% larger battery than the S18, and it's got 32% remaining. Another point for the V11. So this has been an in-depth look at the InMotion V11 and the Kingsong S18. We're really excited about all the changes they made from the pre-production to the production units, and we think these are both solid options for a wheel to purchase.
Still, our thoughts have mostly remained the same. The V11 is going to be the wheel to grab if you're trying to go a long distance, if you just want to cruise, and you want the more comfortable option.
The S18 is definitely still going to be the preferred option for riding on the trails, doing tricks, things of that nature, because when you see something and you're riding on the S18, you think, this wheel will be able to make that happen.
There'll be links to buy the wheels in the description.
Thanks for watching. Today we're going to be giving you an in-depth look at the InMotion V11
And the Kingsong S18.
Oh wow. What's up guys? My name's Aaron.
My name's Connor.
Remindings. Please prevent your hands from being pinche while using the putter.
That's an all-new sticker, and we really appreciate InMotion's attention to detail and safety.
This is the putter.